Mediterranean coast. I say normally sunny, but today on this Sunday in June, the weather has been absolutely atrocious since dawn. Thick rain clouds sweeping over the Principality. The tops of the skyscrapers of luxury flats and hotels are out of sight in the mist. The yachts are bobbing uneasily up and down on a swell in the harbour, and it looks as though the rain is here to stay. The track, the 2-mile twisting bumpy circuit, the tightest and most glamorous in the Grand-Prix calendar, is very wet and very treacherous. And the 20-car field for this round 6 of the 1984 World Championship.
Qui verra 20 concurrents au départ contre 26 généralement, mais vous savez que les rues de la Principauté sont étroites, sont sinueuses et on se limite à 20 concurrents. Avec Alain Prost et Nigel Mansell en première ligne, René Arnoux, Alboreto sur les deux Ferrari dans la deuxième ligne, troisième ligne Derek Warwick et Patrick Tambay sur Renault, puis De Cesaris sur Ligier Renault, Lauda sur McLaren TAG Porsche, Piquet sur Brabham BMW, Rosberg sur Williams Honda, De Angelis sur Lotus Renault, Winkelhock sur ATS BMW, Ayrton Senna sur Telemann Hart, Patrese sur Alfa Romeo, Corrado Fabi sur Brabham BMW, Jacques Lafitte sur Williams Honda, François Hinault sur Ligier Renault, Johnny Cecotto sur Telemann Hart, Piero Ghinzani sur Osella Alfa et Stéphane Beloff sur Tyrrell Ford, le seul représentant, le seul pilote à disputer ce Grand Prix au volant d'une voiture mue par un moteur atmosphérique avec comme toujours les tifosi, les supporters inconditionnels de Ferrari qui sont venus en nombre et en voisin d'Italie pour espérer, dans l'espoir d'assister à une victoire de Arnoux ou Alboreto. La situation au championnat du monde des conducteurs, les deux pilotes de McLaren en tête, Prost 24 points, Lauda 18, puis Warwick et Arnoux 13, De Angelis 12, Rosberg 10, etc. 7 pilotes ne se sont pas qualifiés. Ici, la suite de la situation au championnat du monde. 7 pilotes ne se sont pas qualifiés. Et parmi eux, malheureusement, le premier des non qualifiés est suisse. Il s'agit de Marc Sourer, qui a fait l'impossible, mais qui n'a pas réussi à obtenir sa qualification parmi les 20 meilleurs. Il en a été de même pour Martin Brundle, pour Eddie Cheever, pour Thierry Boutsen, le Belge, pour Palmer et Alliot, les deux pilotes de la RAM, et pour Mauro Baldi. Ainsi, aucune Arose au départ, aucune rame et aucune Spirit. Marc Sourer qui était bien entendu extrêmement déçu. Il se console peut-être à l'idée de savoir qu'il y a toujours eu des éliminés de marque à Monaco, des non qualifiés de marque. On rappellera que l'an dernier, Lauda et Watson ne s'étaient pas qualifiés. Rosberg ne s'est pas qualifié en 80-81. Cheever en 80 déjà. Jabouille en 81. De Angelis et Tambay ne s'étaient pas qualifiés en 79. Quant à vous, Claire et Gazzoni, souvenez-vous qu'en 1978, vous n'aviez pas non plus été parmi les qualifiés. Mésaventures qui étaient parvenues également à Jackie Hicks en 76, à Lafitte en 75, à Gramil, 5 fois vainqueur ici, non qualifié en 75, à Andretti en 71, et puis à Joe Siffert également en 1962. Ainsi, les Suisses qui ont disputé, qui ont des manches du championnat du monde, ont tous connu les affres de la non-qualification à Monaco. Siffert en 62, Clay en 78 et aujourd'hui Marc Sourer. Tout ça pour dire qu'une non-qualification à Monaco, aussi décevante puisse-t-elle être, ne remet nullement en cause la valeur du pilote. Et ici, un tour de circuit en compagnie de Patrick Tambay. Et je vous donne immédiatement les rapports dans la boîte de vitesse de Patrick Tambay. Nous sommes ici sur la rectiligne d'arrivée en 5e. Immédiatement 5e, 3e, 2e pour le virage de Saint-Dévote. Accélération, 3e, 4e et 5e. Pour l'arrivée au virage de Massenet, 4e, tout ce passage en 4e. La descente sur Mirabeau, 3e puis 4e, 2e pour le freinage et le passage du virage de Mirabeau. On arrive au virage de la gare où Patrick va mettre sa première vitesse, voilà qui est fait. Immédiatement en sortie de virage, une légère accélération et la deuxième. Voilà. Le virage du portier en 2e également. Puis on va entrer dans le tunnel en montant les tours 3e, 4e, 5e avec la vitesse maximale à la sortie du tunnel 280 à l'heure à 11 000 tours. Le freinage de la chicane ici, la vitesse de pointe, le freinage de la chicane que l'on passe en 4e. 4e également pour le bureau de tabac. Troisième pour le virage qui contourne la piscine. Deuxième pour le suivant. Troisième, puis on arrive vers la rascasse où l'on fait immédiatement troisième, première. Deuxième vers l'ancien gazomètre. Et là, Patrick Lambert retourne à son stade. Il est évident que ces rapports seront différents sur une course sur piste mouillée. Mais par temps normal, un pilote change à peu près 2000 fois de vitesse, 1950 changements de vitesse en un peu moins de 2 heures, soit, si vous préférez, un changement de vitesse toutes les 3 secondes, virgule 3. Voilà pour ce que l'on aurait souhaité ici pour ce Grand Prix de Monaco. Mais hélas, comme en 1972 lorsque Beltoise s'était imposé, tandis qu'ici c'est le prince régnier de Monaco qui vient d'arriver dans sa tribune d'honneur, sa tribune princière. Le prince régnier qui hier a reçu tous les pilotes en son palais hier soir aux alentours de 20 h. L'hymne monégasque a retenti. Et la procédure de départ est bien engagée maintenant avec, vous voyez, cette piste totalement inondée. Ce qui rappelle beaucoup ce Grand Prix de Monaco 1972 que Beltoise avait donc gagné sous la pluie, sous une pluie battante, où il avait battu Jackie Hicks, le troisième était Fittipaldi, le quatrième Stewart, le cinquième Redman et le sixième Chris Hammond. Je ne me souviens personnellement pas, pourtant j'avais assisté à cette course, je ne me souviens pas de ce qui était arrivé à Regazzoni. Si, accident sortie de route pour Clay Regazzoni ce jour-là, je ne sais plus le détail, peut-être que Clay s'en souvient-il. Tu te souviens ce que tu avais fait, Clay, ce jour-là?
Oui. Jacques, tu m'entends?
Oui, je t'entends.
Oui, alors oui, je me souviens très bien, c'était... Alors Beltoise, il a eu la chance au départ parce qu'il était complètement à droite sous les arbres. Alors il y a une partie du circuit qui c'était sec. Il a pris le meilleur départ. Il était en deuxième ligne. Il a pris la tête, il est resté en tête facilement. Sa BRM était beaucoup plus facile à conduire sous la pluie que notre Ferrari. Alors moi j'étais en deuxième position au début. Après j'ai tiré tout droit à la chicane une première fois. Je suis arrivé un peu long au freinage et après j'ai fait une petite touchette à la chicane et voilà, ma course est terminée. C'est dommage.
Un souvenir, peut-être pas parmi les meilleurs de Clay. Et là nous avons une nouvelle qui nous parvient à l'instant et il semblerait que Niki Lauda ne soit pas du tout disposé à partir car il estime que la situation est beaucoup trop dangereuse dans le tunnel. Je vois du reste la voiture du directeur de course qui s'en va. Voici la voiture de Niki Lauda.
But we can go live now to James Hunt and Murray Walker.
Well, a bit of rain is a masterpiece of understatement because I refuse to say good afternoon from Monaco. It's an absolutely diabolical afternoon, as you see Niki Lauda talking to Bernie Ecclestone. When we got up this morning, the rain was belting down. It was a nice day yesterday. The practice times were very good indeed. Indeed, Alain Prost, who put up pole time of 1 minute 22.6, is the fastest man ever around Monaco. But this morning, the rain was belting down, and it has, if anything, increased in intensity minute by minute since then. We've had a series of minor races today. The drivers have confirmed, and so has Keke Rosberg, with whom I was talking a few moments ago, that they have never known such terrible conditions, and particularly in the tunnel, which is a unique feature of a European circuit. Anyway, there's one in America. But the Monaco tunnel is famous, and you can imagine it today. They come off streaming wet roads on wet treaded tyres, which are what Derek Warwick's Renault have got there. You see the big grooves in them. They go into the tunnel initially on damp roads. Then as they go into the tunnel, the road dries out, and there are a lot of white lines painted on the surface, which are apparently just like driving on ice. Michele Alboreto there in the Ferrari, who is fourth on the grid, spun his Ferrari very, very conclusively in the warm-up period this morning and is not at all happy about the conditions, but then nor is anybody else.
Yes, well, right in front of us, because, as Murray just told you, the conditions really are terrible. There's a lot of oil and rubber on the track, which, when you put water on top of that, makes it unbelievably slippery. And right in front of us now, I see Nicky Lauda has just gone into a huddle with Bernie Eccleston and several of the officials, and I would strongly suspect that Nicky is unhappy with the conditions, and they may be talking about a delayed start, because the track's very wet indeed. But if they don't delay the start, I suspect they won't. Then I think that the McLaren team look very strong indeed. They're on Michelin wet tyres, which would appear to be the best wet rubber around. There's Nigel Mansell, who qualified second fastest on the front row. He, for better or for worse, is on Goodyear tyres, and whether that there he is, he's looking quite happy and confident anyway. He doesn't seem to mind the conditions too much. You see the little bit of black tape he's got in the middle of his helmet there. That's to prop open the visor, because one of the big problems drivers have, apart from not being able to see where on earth they're going because of the spray from the car in front, their visors tend to steam up, so you tend to prop your visor open a little bit to get some air inside it, rather like in your ordinary car when you put on the blower when you're steaming up inside. This happens inside your own helmet. And today the drivers are really going to earn their money, because around Monte-Carlo these cars now have so much power that in these conditions they'll be able to spin the wheels in any gear almost anywhere on the circuit. That in turn means that the entire 2 hours will be like going around a corner. So they will be, in effect, driving at maximum concentration without any rest at all. And believe you me, I'm extremely happy to be sitting here commentating and not having to go out there and race, because this is a nightmare, but it is why they get paid so much money. So they will be earning it.
And of course, because of the appallingly wet conditions and the reduced lap times, it is certain that this will be a 2-hour race and not a 77-lap race. Here we go then, round the course, and as you can see, the brown shaded section is going up the hill. Now we're into Casino Square, and you see the speeds in kilometres. That's round the left-hander at Massenet, and then they start to drop down the hill into the right-hander at Mirabeau, which is where there is the Mirabeau in the background, that very, very tall building, and we're going round the right-hander here. Then from there they drop down further into the round the station hairpin, the old station hairpin, which is where Lowe's Hotel is now. Then into the Portier, which is a second gear corner. From there into the world-famous tunnel, which is now a lot longer than it used to be. And you can see that the road in the tunnel is dry. You can also see those white lines I was talking about, and imagine your wet-treaded tyres hitting those lines, which act just like lines of grease. They're going through the tunnel at 160, yes, 160 miles an hour. They emerge from the tunnel at about 170 miles an hour. The cars are bottoming, and there is definitely a delayed start. There is an official walking round with départ retard written on a large board. I don't know how long the départ has been retarded, but we'll let you know as soon as we know ourselves. Meantime, the left-hander there is the Tabac, which is where Martin Brundle crashed yesterday. In fact, we're going to see probably the Armco point of contact. It's just on the right now. Now we go into the swimming pool section, which is a left, a tiny little short straight, a right, and then another left, and you see the 2 rights there. Then the left out of the swimming pool at about 90 miles an hour along that curved section, which leads into the very tight right-hander at La Rascasse, the cafe on the corner. Now, this is a new section of the world-famous Monaco circuit. They used to go round the Tabac left-handed and into what is now the pits road, but there is the Tabac. And the reason for the delay, and I sincerely hope that this is not a repetition of the situation we had a couple of years ago, is that the firemen have been sent into the tunnel. Now, you may remember that, was it 2 years ago? Time goes so quickly. We are now, by the way, at the old gasworks corner and back into the straight, and there they are lined up on the grid. Now, you will remember that last year the kitchens in Lowe's Hotel caught fire. There are the pompiers, and the reason they're going into the tunnel is to water the tunnel road. I explained earlier on that there was a dramatic contrast between the road conditions where they go into the tunnel and the tunnel itself, and because of that they have obviously decided to commonize those conditions by watering the tunnel road so that it too is wet and there won't be a dramatic change of grip. Well, you can see for yourselves they're doing it, and that is why there is the temporary, let us not hope not too long delay. That's Michele Alboreto.
Yes, and I would think that that was what Niki Lauda was talking to the officials about, to get that regularized, and quite a sensible thing to do. But as Murray says, there is a problem here. These are normal for most of the year, for 361 days of the year. These are normal public roads. You see the white lines. And when water gets on those, they're quite different to the normal grip. They get very shiny and very slippery. And when you see the white line down the middle of the tunnel, and you have to cross that when you take your line through the tunnel, and the car really lets go as you do that. So it's a bit of a surprise when you're not used to it, but of course they all know it's there. There goes the French pompier doing his business with his water gun, getting the tunnel nice and wet. But of course, in fact, if the conditions stay the same, the tunnel, of course, will start to dry out, because they can't do that during the race, and at least I wouldn't imagine they would. And it's a bit of a shock to a driver to come around and get a large jet from a hose pipe in his face. So I imagine that will dry out during the race. But of course, the drivers will be able to judge the conditions as they go. So Alain Prost on pole position, McLaren team, that's Niki Lauda there, who qualified a little bit behind Prost this time. Didn't quite get the clear and perfect lap that Prost did. Prost is the man in form, and I would back Prost very strongly this time. In the normal way we say before a race that nobody, no matter how dominant they are in practice, starts a Grand-Prix as more than a 3-to-1 chance to win because of breakdowns and all the other things that can go wrong in Grand-Prix racing. But when you get a wet race, you get more finishers, potentially, unless, of course, the drivers can't keep the cars on the road. It's a battle for them, but reliability goes up very sharply. The temperature isn't as high, which helps the engines. The power isn't used as much. The strain on the cars isn't as much as they corner. So reliability goes up, and we should have a lot of finishers at the end today, so long as the drivers can keep it on the road. And when I say that, that's a strongly qualified remark, because it is not easy. It's a matter of absolutely 100% concentration today with no rest. Normally you get a rest when you get on a straight, on a dry road, and it's not a problem. You can relax and then come back into your concentration for the corner and things like that. But today it's going to be 100%.
You saw the eyes of Derek Warwick there, sitting in his Renault. Let's remind you that Nigel Mansell, who went so well at Dijon in the French Grand Prix to finish third and score his first points of the season, is in second place on the grid, a very determined Nigel Mansell. He had trouble with the fuel injection control box of his car during the warm-up. It flooded out, as a result of which it's been repositioned behind the driver's seat, as has that of his teammate Elio De Angelis. And if Mansell can get a sharp start and get ahead of Prost, which I have to say is extremely unlikely, he's going to be a very difficult man to pass. The two Ferraris have been revived. That is Elio De Angelis, incidentally, adjusting his balaclava helmet. So a delayed start as De Angelis takes off his balaclava. The Monaco Grand Prix will be starting, well, I'm guessing, I really am guessing, but I should think in about 5 or 10 minutes' time, and we, of course, will be covering it.
Il a l'air de souffrir aussi.
Jacques,
Oui.
À propos de ce tunnel qu'on est en train de mouiller, est-ce qu'on ne peut pas dire que d'ici 4 ou 5 tours, enfin après 4 ou 5 passages des voitures, il sera de nouveau sec?
Ce n'est pas sûr, car les voitures vont transporter, soulèvent tout de même passablement de pluie, passablement d'eau, et je pense que je ne pense pas qu'elles sécheront totalement le tunnel, mais en revanche elles auraient pu contribuer à le mouiller.
Mais c'est de l'eau salée ou quoi?
Je ne sais pas, j'ai pas vu si on puisait ça dans la mer ou comment ça se passe, et peut-être que Manfred Winkelhock, que l'on voit ici, l'ignore aussi. Winkelhock qui lui a connu alors un accident jeudi lorsqu'il a touché le rail à la sortie du virage du casino, et que sa voiture a été projetée de face contre un autre rail de sécurité. Il souffre d'une légère déchirure musculaire à tel point que chez ATS on a hésité à le remplacer. Mais comme il n'était pas possible de le remplacer car le pilote que l'on proposait, qui s'appelle Martini, ne possède pas la super licence, il n'était pas possible de le remplacer, alors on a préféré procéder à un traitement rapide et très intensif sur l'épaule endolorie de Winkelhock, et peut-être court-il sous piqûre. C'était en tout cas sous piqûre qu'il a participé à la dernière séance d'essai, où il a réussi tout de même à décrocher le 12e temps absolu au volant de son ATS BMW Turbo.
Jacques?
Oui.
C'est Jean. L'accident de Winkelhock qui s'est passé dans une grande violence.
Vous étiez là, hein?
J'étais là-haut à l'entraînement de jeudi matin, jeudi après-midi, et j'ai vu que le châssis de la voiture avait une solidité extraordinaire aujourd'hui, plus que jamais, et que ça, c'est quand même très intéressant. C'est-à-dire la recherche de la sécurité est une chose qu'il faut pousser, et je pense que c'est très important que Winkelhock puisse conduire aujourd'hui. C'est la preuve même que l'habitacle a une solidité infernale à l'heure actuelle.
Oui, il faut reconnaître que la protection, en particulier la protection des pieds et des jambes des pilotes, ici c'est la fiche que l'on voit, est tout à fait efficace. Ça a été prouvé à plus d'une reprise, et c'est tant mieux, car on avait déploré tout de même pas mal d'accidents graves qui ont atteint Didier Pironi, pour ne citer que lui, ou même Jean-Pierre Jabouille assez gravement aux jambes, et je crois que c'est une bonne chose, et c'est une mesure qu'il faut reconnaître. Toutes les mesures, ici Keke Rosberg, le vainqueur de l'an dernier, toutes les mesures prises par la FISA ne sont pas systématiquement approuvées à l'unanimité et dans l'enthousiasme, mais là il faut reconnaître que c'est une mesure particulièrement efficace et qui a déjà permis à pas mal d'accidents ou de touchettes de se terminer sans le moindre mal.
Jacques, vous m'entendez?
Oui, Jean.
Non, c'est pas Jean, c'est Jacques. Ça fait rien. Vous avez des nouvelles de Bernard Santal, qui était notre invité lors de la première émission? Je crois qu'il y a eu...
Underway soon, and let's rejoin Murray Walker.
Well, that's a very cheerful Keke Rosberg, last year's winner. Last year, he put the right tyres on and nobody else did, as a result of which he won totally against expectations in his then Ford DFV-powered Williams. Today, he's got a Honda engine. Not too happy about it, to be quite honest, because with the Honda engine you get all 650 horsepower in one large lump, and in today's conditions that is far from desirable. Rosberg then waiting to get in his car. There's Francois Mazet on the right, walking towards us now, and as you can see the tunnel is still being watered. The spectators on the hillside here getting a bit fractious because they are sopping wet. I suspect they don't really know what's happening. They know the race should have started. They are not to know that the water is being laid artificially in the tunnel as opposed to naturally here around the rest of the circuit, as you can well see for yourselves. A lot of British marshals here. There are some marshals in the background, and as ever, members of what is acknowledged to be the best marshalling organisation in the world, the British Motor Racing Marshals Club, are here to help out the Monegasque authorities here at this track. We're looking at the Rascasse.
Yes, I just wanted to interrupt there because to add my support, what a superb job the British Motor Racing Marshals Club do. They are the world's top marshalling body. In fairness to them, they get a lot more practice than most other marshals, and I think it's very sensible of the Automobile Club here in Monte-Carlo to bring them all down to marshal this race. We had a major crash in the Formula 3 race yesterday, which required very skillful marshalling. A driver was trapped in his car. He wasn't, well, he had a broken hip, but he wasn't otherwise seriously hurt. But in situations like that, the tendency is for inexperienced marshals to panic and try and pull the driver out. In fact, they kept him in the car for something like 25 minutes before they could release him. And this was shown on French television, which was covering the race, and we watched this and saw some very skillful and careful marshalling. Incidentally, the rain is coming down now, if anything, harder than it has done all day, and the track is going to be really wet, and to the extent as we saw a shot just now of the puddles. In fact, you can see the water lying on the track there at the Rascasse, and it won't present aquaplaning problems there because the speeds are low enough, but once they're doing over 100 miles an hour, if there are big puddles, then these cars can aquaplane as well, which just makes it a further nightmare for the poor drivers. As I say, I don't envy them at all. They've got a really difficult, tough job in front of them today, and it's going to be a man who's concentrated very well indeed, who's to keep the whole thing together and under control to get it to the finish today.
I'm wondering whether the fuel problem will strike here, because the race is going to a full 2 hours. It's very unlikely because they'll be going slower, and therefore the longer race will be cancelled out by the slower speed. No one that I've spoken to in the pits was showing any great alarm. Jean Sage, the Renault team manager, looking at his watch, or that was Jackie Ickx, the man who may well be winning, or would have hoped to have been winning, the Le Mans 24-hour race next weekend, had he not been excluded as part of the Porsche withdrawal package. Anyway, there we are. On the left of the grid, you see Alain Prost's red and white nose cone, the little Frenchman who is leading the World Championship so convincingly this year, having won in Brazil, having won in San Marino. 5 minutes is the board that is being shown now. The royal box in the background, and Le Mans, I am reminded, and thank you, is not next week, it's in 2 weeks' time. And Jackie Ickx will still not be racing at it. On the right, number 12, in the highest position on a grid that he has ever occupied, Nigel Mansell. Very, very important race for him.
It's just as a bit of a tip and something interesting to watch today, I think we should keep a careful eye on Stefan Beloff, who was our last qualifier, but he's in the Tyrrell Cosworth, in the Ford engine car, non-turbocharged car. He was 6th fastest in the warm-up this morning, which is the first time that they'd run in the wet, and this is a much more manoeuvrable and nimble car than the turbocharged cars, and these are the sort of conditions in which it will flourish. Having said that, we have to remember that overtaking is going to be even more difficult than usual because of the spray off the tires. You come up behind another car, and when you get to about 30 or 40 yards away, in these conditions, you really can see nothing. The reason is this. I mean, we've all followed lorries on motorways in pouring rain, but they have mud guards. They've got lots of wheels, but they've got mud guards, and they don't throw out nearly as much spray as a Formula One car. And if you remember when the last time you drove down a motorway behind a big lorry on a wet road, you couldn't see much. Well, in a Formula One car, you can see absolutely nothing, and the drivers have to find their way around the track when they're following another car, literally, by watching the side of the track. They can watch out at right angles, and they have to remember where they are and work out their geography from looking sideways, and that is their only view. So, in view of the fact that you can't overtake a car from 40 yards behind it, you've got to be right alongside it. Overtaking is going to be for the very brave today.
The first corner on this track, this lap, and in this race is going to be the most important corner of the race. It is Saint-Devote, and those of you who have watched, there's the answer, 3 minutes, the Monaco Grand-Prix over the years, will recall that a few years ago there was an almighty pile-up which resulted in Derek Daly's car, his Tyrrell, flying through the air and taking several other cars out with him. And we naturally hope that nothing like that is going to happen this race. But, as James has just said, the already present problem is going to be compounded by the fact that only one driver will really be able to see where he's going. And that is, of course, Alain Prost, who's in pole position. I was talking to Ron Dennis, the Marlboro McLaren team boss, this morning, and he was wreathed in smiles, saying the big advantage for us today, apart from the fact that we think we've got the best car and the best drivers in Prost and Lauda, is that Alain Prost, as you see the grid coming up, is in pole position, which means to say that he will have a clear track. All the others will have to endeavour to see through a solid ball of spray, and going up the hill, as Keke Rosberg has said, with 1 minute to go, is very, very difficult indeed. The smoke coming up, I suspect, is not engine exhaust, but may well be dry ice on the radiators of Mansell's car, No, it's steam, of course. Steam coming up from the engine cover. Nigel Mansell's already done 2 laps. He's done the old Carlos Reutemann trick of going a lap on the warm-up, diving into the pits and then coming out the other end, so that he could practice the start under these appalling conditions twice. And this may give him an advantage. You can see that Nigel is not at all happy with the steam. He's waving it away from his advisor. This is the warm-up lap.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Murray. A practice start would be very valuable today because considerable throttle control is required. You can't just sit in one of these things with 600 plus horsepower and put your foot down, because if you do, the wheels spin and you stand absolutely still. And so Nigel has very sensibly and very professionally practiced his start just to see just how much grip and how much throttle he can give the car, because also, as Murray said, when he was talking about Alan Prost being the man who could see, what he actually meant was the guy who leads. Whoever gets into the first corner first is the guy who has a clear track. And that's a huge advantage, because the leader, until he starts lapping the back markers, and then of course it becomes the same for everybody, but for the first 10 laps or so, or a bit more, is the only man who can see where he's going, and he in fact enjoys a huge advantage.
Well, they're finding out for themselves. They will all have personal experience now of the fact that the tunnel road has been watered. We've got a camera in the tunnel, so you'll be able to see for yourselves how wet it is in comparison with the rest of the course. There's the answer as Nigel Mansell comes towards us, followed by René Arnoux, the white-helmeted Ferrari driver, out of the tunnel. And the cloud, which was just nudging the hilltops around Monaco this morning, is now even below the top of some of the highest buildings in the Principality. I don't think I have ever seen the conditions as bad as this, including 1972, when Jean-Pierre Beltoise won in the BRM. They're approaching the Tabac corner now, which is where Martin Brundle went off yesterday so heavily. And I say again that apart from being shaken and bruised, Martin Brundle is perfectly okay. This is about halfway round the warm-up lap, no, 2/3 of the way round the warm-up lap as they go into the swimming pool section. The crowd here, not surprisingly, is noticeably much smaller than it usually is. They've decided to stay at home and watch it on television, I suspect. Prost, Mansell, Arnoux, Alboreto, Warwick, Tombay, De Cesaris, Niki Lauda, who went so quickly in the warm-up. Nelson Piquet only 9th on the grid. Keke Rosberg there, 10th. De Angelis, Manfred Winkelhock, Ayrton Senna, Riccardo Patrese, Corrado Fabi, because he is taking the place of his brother Teo, normally drives in the Brabham team as number 2. And we're off now shortly for a 2-hour Monaco Grand Prix. Watch for the lights. Between 4 and 7 seconds after the red will come the green. And as they blast away up the hill for the first time, there is the problem that I anticipated, a carambolage, and it's Derek Warwick who is involved with it. It is Elio De Angelis and Patrick Tombay, both Renaults in trouble, and Riccardo Patrese, and Warwick has obviously bashed his left leg, whereas in the French Grand Prix it was his right leg. Disaster for the Renault team right at the start of the race. Now they have cranes here, they'll try and winch them out of the way. Alain Prost, after a superb start, has got away in the lead. It's Nigel Mansell second, the 2 Ferraris third and fourth. And as they go into the tunnel for the first time, it will be to meet the watered road surface, which has had heavy water laid on it. And Tombay is in trouble with a leg injury as well. Obviously, both Warwick and Tombay have got hurt legs, and disaster for the Renault team on lap 1.
Yes, what a terrible tragedy for the Renault team in what to them is a home Grand Prix, and really sad because they've had their trials and tribulations this year. Prost leading here, Mansell going beautifully. Prost made a wonderful start. He got the grip just right, moved the car off the line, and the important thing is to get it moving. He did his job, and we didn't see exactly what happened. We may be able to see on an action replay in a moment, which I'm sure they will show us because they can record from other cameras that we didn't see. And it's surprising that in the wet that both the Renault drivers should have been hurt. Hopefully not seriously, because they're going so slowly that's Derek Warwick standing there, looking pretty unhappy after his accident. It looks like he feels that it wasn't his fault. Somebody may have hit him. Marsha just asking if his leg's all right. But really a tragic start for Renault.
Prost leads and Nigel Mansell in second place, and a sizable gap after Nigel Mansell. They go round the box. The cars have been craned away, the two Renaults of Torbay and Warwick, and that is a real credit to the organisational efficiency here. And in third position, at the end of that first lap, it was Niki Lauda who had come up from his 8th position on the grid into third position in the race. So the McLarens are first and third.
Yes, and Lauda was quickest in the wet in the warm-up today. I was asked a question earlier today by a fan who was wondering about the Lauda's attitude to the wet after he pulled out of the Japanese Grand Prix in 1976. The wet, I think that I was confidently telling this person that I thought he would race, and he would race hard, and it would appear that he's doing that. So Alain Prost leads, Nigel Mansell second.
And it's a Ferrari in third position because there's been a change. It's one of the two Ferraris, I suspect that of René Arnoux, and we'll check as soon as we see him come, whoever it is, come into sight as they come out of the chicane into the left-hander at the back into the swimming pool section. And that is Johnny Cecotto, who has joined apparently the retirements. Cecotto, the Venezuelan driver of the Toleman. Now look, there is the Ferrari. It is René Arnoux in third position. It is Michele Alboreto in fourth place. It is Niki Lauda in fifth position. And it looks like Keke Rosberg sixth. And here's the replay of what happened on lap one.
No, hopefully we can see. Well, we didn't really see. But it looked to me... Now, which Renault is that spun first? The one on the left. And that's Derek Warwick. So it looks like Warwick spun and lost it. Tambay came round the corner and was actually minding his own business, but couldn't avoid him. Made contact. And there was a traffic jam. And what that traffic jam, in fact, means, which will not please Alain Prost retrospectively, because it rather decimated the field and spread it out a lot, and which means that Prost will be having to lap back markers sooner than normal. Now, the other thing that's going on here, as we said, we're on the pit straight, and just before Sandoval corner, and I've seen drivers braking and then coming off the brakes and back onto the throttle, simply because they can't see where they're going, and they're not quite sure where they are. And it's that difficult for the cars down the middle of the field. The visibility here, now it's 5 seconds since the car's gone past here, and I still can't see more than 40 yards. I've got about 40 yards visibility.
And there's an enormous amount of misfiring. I think there's going to be a lot of retirements from this race. The two Ferraris are together. There is Nigel Mansell in second place, and we are now on lap 3. That is the race leader, Alain Prost. Nigel Mansell is second. The two Ferraris of Arnoux and Alboreto, as you see, are third and fourth. Niki Lauda is fifth. Keke Rosberg, driving a misfiring Williams Honda, is in sixth position as the race leader, Alain Prost, comes round towards the swimming pool again. And really, if Alain Prost can just pace himself and take it easy and control the slides of his car, he is going to be all right, because they are going to have the greatest difficulty in getting past him. We have a complete power failure now at Monaco, just to compound our problems. The pictures have totally disappeared. I hope that you are getting one. Meantime, we are going to revert to the good old-fashioned steam radio commentary, and as we wait for the leaders to come through on lap 3 in this, what will be a 2-hour race, and it is in the lead, Alain Prost. In second place, it is still Nigel Mansell. There's a long, long gap now before the Ferraris appear. The race is dominated by those two cars. Then it's Arnoux third. Alboreto.
Well, lucky for you, unlucky for us. But there is Niki Lauda going away from Michele Alboreto, with his next challenge being to catch and pass René Arnoux in the other Ferrari. And sorry about this, but we've lost our pictures again. So we'll try the radio-style commentary and just jolly well hope that you can correct us if anything's wrong.
Well, the story then, obviously, is that the old fox, Niki Lauda, is starting his charge in a beautifully balanced car on very good tyres, which are absolutely right for today's conditions, as we wait at the pictureless position here on lap 4 to see Alain Prost go through. Now, the gap between Prost and Mansell is 2.5 seconds. Nigel Mansell holding on magnificently, and there's a long gap between Mansell and the third-place man, Arnoux, 9 seconds. But between Arnoux and Lauda, who is 4th, ahead of Alboreto, who is 5th, there's only 2 seconds. Keke Rosberg is still in that 6th position. Winkelhock is still 7th, and Senna is still 8th. In 9th position it is Jacques Lafitte, and now I wait.
As you will have probably gathered, we've lost the sound of James Hunt and Murray Walker just for the moment. They've lost pictures, we've lost their sound, but we'll stay with the pictures for the moment.
With René Arnoux, who is in 3rd position. And the order is Alain Prost, who is not pulling away from Nigel Mansell in 2nd position. And I suspect that Nigel Mansell, knowing that there's quite a big gap between himself and Arnoux, is just pacing himself and keeping a clear track in front of him so that he can see where he's going. And is not, in fact, at the moment, making an effort to close up on and take... And, well, we've just heard, I'm sure if you've got pictures, you're doing much better than we are, because we've just heard that Lauda has passed Arnoux and is up into 3rd position. So it's a McLaren in the lead with Prost. It's a McLaren in 3rd position with Lauda. It's still Nigel Mansell in 2nd place. Down to 4th goes Arnoux. 5th is Alboreto. 6th is Rosberg. 7th is Winkelhock. 8th is Senna. 9th is Lafitte. And 10th is still Belloff.
An interesting test now, because Niki Lauda has a little bit of clear track, and we shall be able to see if he is able to close on Prost. He's some 15 seconds or so behind Alain Prost, and 13 or 14 behind Nigel Mansell, so he will be able to see where he's going, and we hope now to see if he's actually closing on Prost. Well, I've just been told you're watching Lauda passing Arnoux on replay, but unfortunately we can't see it, so you better make your own commentary.
Well, I'll tell you, while you're looking at whatever you're looking at, that the gap between Prost and Mansell is 3.9 seconds. The gap between Mansell and Lauda, who is now third, is 16 seconds. And I will, of course, be putting the watch on the gap between the English driver in the JPS Lotus and the great Austrian Lauda in his now third position. So Arnoux is fourth, Alboreto is fifth, Rosberg is sixth, Winkelhock is seventh. In eighth position it's still Senna, followed by Lafitte, and Beloff has damaged the nose cone of his Tyrrell in 10th position.
Well, they to be in Australia. For those of you on Channel 9 who are watching, albeit in the middle of the night, I'm prepared to have a very large bet that you've got much better weather than we have, and you'll probably see more of the race. And we now have a picture.
Yes, we have a picture, and how nice it is to see it again. It is of the leader, Alain Prost, coming through on his now 7th lap. And the gap between Alain Prost that you look at, number 7, and Nigel Mansell is about 3.8 seconds. No, it's less. Look at that. Nigel Mansell is closing right up on Alain Prost. Is the Frenchman in trouble, or is Nigel Mansell starting a charge? Prost there on Michelin tyres, and Nigel Mansell is on the new Goodyear wet, and it's a very fine tyre which went extremely well in the warm-up period. Picture's gone again, but the leaders are due. I'll give you the gap. It's now, there is Alain Prost. His engine is misfiring, and Nigel Mansell is sounding in good shape. 2.71 seconds, and this is lap 8. As you see Prost and Mansell going up the hill towards Casino Square, very close to each other, much closer than they have been. It's conceivable that Nigel Mansell is going to be up with Prost soon, but then he's got to get past him.
Well, Nigel Mansell is driving an absolutely magnificent race. He shunted himself up on the 2nd position on the grid. There we are, fastest lap for Nigel Mansell. And he shunted himself up in practice. He's on absolutely top form. And if you look at it, there's not a lot of spray there because of the speed, but he really can't get any closer to Prost and still see where he's going. So I would suspect, in fact, the confident way in which he's holding on to Prost, I would suspect that Nigel is playing a waiting game, waiting for a mistake. There's no hurry. There's another hour and 20 minutes or so. Hour and 40 minutes before the race is over. And this is plenty of time to pressure Prost into a mistake or wait for the track to dry a bit when he'll be able to see better. And I would suggest that Prost is doing, that Mansell's driving a great race.
That's Francois Hainaut, as you see from the caption, the second of the 2 Ligier drivers. But into the swimming pool now, lap 8, Prost. And just see how Nigel Mansell is closing up on the Frenchman, who has already won 2 Grand Prix this year. Prost, Mansell. Now where, if anywhere, can Nigel Mansell get past? He's going to have a big problem from now on, because he's going to be right in the spray of Alain Prost's McLaren, with Niki Lauda still 3rd, Arnoux 4th, Alboreto 5th, Rosberg 6th, Senna 7th, Winkelhock 8th, and now watch Francois Hainaut going off at Saint-Devote. Going off the circuit, but not damaging the car at all.
Yes, but he's already lost his nose cone with his front wings, which is probably why he couldn't get any bite from the front tyres and went off there. But he is a long way from being in contention. There goes Prost, coming into the Casino Square, one of the more difficult parts of the circuit, particularly in the wet. The car goes very light over that hump where Mansell is now. You see the fog through which Nigel Mansell is trying to look. It reduces now because the car's going very slowly. This is the first gear corner, the station hairpin, and it really is very difficult.
Well, behind these two, there's a great scrap developing for 6th position between Keke Rosberg, who's holding it, and Ayrton Senna in his first year of Formula 1 Grand Prix racing, the Brazilian in the new Tolman. And he's got the good Michelin tyres this race, And that is Alboreto on lap 9. Michele Alboreto has stalled his car. I can't see where it is, but it looks as though he's obviously out of the race. He's gesturing that he wants a push. Well, he's got power. He's not being pulled back. It's downhill, he's trickling back, and Michele Alboreto is continuing his season of appalling bad luck, because number 27, the Italian, has won one race and failed to finish in all the others this year.
Yeah, we didn't see it happen. I would suspect that he had a spin and stalled the engine, and of course if he starts it with a push start, he is technically liable to disqualification. But of course the organisers would have to be brave people with 50 to 100,000 Italians here.
This is the battle I was telling you about. Keke Rosberg in 6th position, just ahead of Ayrton Senna in the yellow helmet and in the white Tolman, the new Tolman. And Senna has come up through the field. He started in 13th place and he's now 7th.
Well, Senna has showed an exceptional talent. He was, and the wet is where the talent shows. Ayrton Senna in Formula 3 last year was dominant, except for the challenge from Martin Brundle, but Senna has proved his talent subsequently. He drove in a celebration club race, if you like, for Yodas, in which yours truly came a distant and rather dismal 10th at the new Nürburgring celebration, and he won that and he beat everybody. And Senna is very, very talented indeed.
Now, Lafitte in, obviously, for tyres, which is very interesting because he started on wets. Now, I imagine he may have spun. There's Arnoux. And Senna and Rosberg, followed by Winkelhock and Stefan Beloff, with Lafitte coming out of the pits. And now on lap 10, it is Alain Prost leading, 2 seconds ahead of Nigel Mansell. In 3rd position, it is Niki Lauda. In 4th position, it is René Arnoux. 5th now is Keke Rosberg. And in 6th position is Ayrton Senna. Or is he 5th now? No, it's still... And there's Senna. That's what John Nielsen did in the Formula 3 race yesterday, and he went off very badly indeed. But Senna's made a marvellous recovery, and in these quite indescribable conditions, the Monaco Grand-Prix continues. We're on lap 11 now.
Yes, that is certainly the question mark over Ayrton Senna, because he's relatively inexperienced, and the problem with experience for a driver here is that it's very difficult to realise that this race, unlike most Grand Prix, in dry conditions, which is a sprint, and you drive flat out all the way, we're very much in a survival battle. And Ayrton Senna, going very quickly, might continue to try and go too quickly. And whilst I think he's capable of winning this race, I think it's very unlikely, because I don't think he quite has the experience.
Rosberg. And Senna. Round Casino Square. Into the drop down past the tip top. And that is Corrado Fabi. Corrado Fabi has spun his Brabham out of contention, and now we have Torme out of the race, we have Warwick out of the race. I haven't seen De Angelis for a long time. We have Cicotto out of the race, we have Alboreto out, and we now have Corrado Fabi on lap 11 in this 2-hour race into the chicane again. And now this is going to be Senna nearly losing it, putting his right wheel on the curb.
That Senna was so close behind he couldn't see where he was going, and that was really, I would say, the cause of that bounce over the chicane. But here are the pair again, still doing battle.
A real veteran, the 1982 world champion, Keke Rosberg, leading Ayrton Senna now, and in the lead now is Nigel Mansell, has taken the lead. As you see, Corrado Fabi sitting in a stationary position in his car on lap 12. The Englishman, Nigel Mansell, in the John Player Special Lotus, has taken the lead from Alain Prost, with Niki Lauda in third position, with René Arnoux closing up on the Austrian in fourth place. In fifth place it is Keke Rosberg, and in sixth position it is Ayrton Senna. Seventh is Winkelhock, and right behind Winkelhock is Stefan Beloff in eighth place. So you've got two German drivers fighting for seventh and eighth positions. There is the new leader. Nigel Mansell leads on lap 12. This is the first time that Nigel Mansell, as Prost goes through in second place, has ever led a Grand Prix. Can he stay there for the remainder of this long race which stretches before him? Mansell, Prost, Lauda, McLaren second and third, Ferrari fourth, Arnoux, the Williams of Rosberg fifth, and the Toleman of Ayrton Senna in sixth place. Now let us savour the sight of Nigel Mansell leading as he closes up on Riccardo Patrese to lap him.
And look at that visibility. I mean, Nigel Mansell is looking through a total fog, but of course that's the occupation hazard. As the race leader, it's only back markers fog he's looking at, and you see he has no visibility at all. That shot that we saw from behind was, we saw considerably more than Mansell would have done, because he was right under the other car's wheels. There goes Alain Prost, who will be catching in this situation. But in the meantime, there's Nigel coming through clear, and now Prost has the problem also of getting round Riccardo Patrese. He's got to peer through the spray, but in the meantime they have actually pulled away from Niki Lauda, who, despite being quickest in the warm-up this morning, is losing ground to the leading pair. And Nigel Mansell, what a magnificent race he's driving. It was generally reckoned before the race that Goodyear didn't have as good wet as Michelin had for their tires, but happily for Goodyear, haven't they proved us all wrong, because their tire is proving entirely competitive.
So Mansell leading. There is Prost in second position. Well, what a wonderful sight. Gerard Ducarouge, the French designer of the John Player Special Lotus, is seeing his creation in the lead in a Grand Prix for a first time, and Ayrton Senna has now passed Keke Rosberg and is in fifth position. So Mansell leads, and he's now got the benefit of a clear circuit in front of him, unlike Alain Prost, who's now literally having to take Nigel Mansell's spray. With Michele Alboreto is in the race, incidentally. He has rejoined the circuit somehow or other and is back in the running. And on lap 13, it's Mansell leading, it is Lauda, it is Prost second, it's Lauda third, it's Arnoux fourth, and closing on Lauda as Nigel Mansell comes through to complete another lap. In fifth position, it is Ayrton Senna. And there you see the stationary Ligier rolling back. Obviously he's lost the engine, and it is that of François Hainaut. He's done it wrong again somewhere, somehow. It's Saint-Devote. You can see the climb. And there in the right-hand side of your screen, there is the cable of the crane waiting to greet and remove, I suspect, the Ligier of Hainaut. No, he's managed to roll it back off the circuit himself. He's on the inside here, whereas they have to actually go around the outside of that new traffic island. Nigel Mansell leads lap 14. That's Lafitte. Jacques Lafitte is being caught by Nigel Mansell to be lapped by him. There's the Frenchman. Now look back along the course and you'll see Alain Prost. As James said, Nigel Mansell is driving an absolute storm of a race. This gritty, very, very determined Englishman is showing all his class. And so it's Ayrton Senna, who is now catching René Arnoux. And as you can see, Mansell is the fastest man on the circuit. 1 minute 55 compared with the lap record of 1 minute 26 held by Riccardo Patrese. And Lafitte gives Nigel Mansell, the sign to pass on the right. Nigel Mansell takes it and is coming through shortly to complete his 14th lap. Prost is still second. Lauda is still third. Arnoux is still fourth, but Senna is catching him. We hope we'll see that shortly. You're looking at Prost in second place. Mansell just rolls it round La Rascasse in first gear at about 30 miles an hour. Now he will be getting signals from his team, from Peter Waugh and from Steve Hallam, his engineer, which will keep him in the picture. Nigel Mansell rips past the start, through Saint-Devant, climbs the hill towards the Hotel de Paris and the left-hander at Massenet. Here he comes into the long left-hander at the Hotel de Paris. Then he flicks it right, drops down the hill. This is the most spectacular point in motor racing that he's approaching. It almost touches the barrier on the right there when he's got the line right, and he has. Niki Lauda is still in third. Now, Ayrton Senna is catching Lauda. I hope they're going to show us this, because this is sensational. Ayrton Senna is coming up through the field. And there is Lauda. There is Mansell, sorry, into the tunnel. And, of course, a lot of the moisture and the wetness with Corrado Fabi's Brabham parked there is being carried through into the tunnel itself. Mansell is through and away. Prost in that second place. Lauda is in third position, and Ayrton Senna is now in fourth position. He's ahead of René Arnoux, having already passed Keke Rosberg. So the brilliant Brazilian is now showing the class that we've always known was there when he was in Formula Ford, Formula Ford 2000, Formula 3, and now Formula 1. Alain Prost tiptoeing round the swimming pool after the race leader, and Nigel Mansell now very coolly dealing with things. He is in his 49th Grand Prix. He is no new boy, but it's a new experience for him to know that he's leading a Grand Prix. The Renault-engined JPS Lotus is sounding crisp and clear. Prost goes through, his engine is rumbling. He has now lapped. Jack, and off goes Nigel Mansell. I spoke too soon. Mansell's lost it in the biggest possible way. That was the race leader. Now look at this. His wing's damaged. That's going to affect his downforce.
Yes, it's possible. Oh, no, I think he's damaged the suspension of the cars all over the place. And that was really a terrible, terrible mistake by Nigel Mansell, because he was pulling away from Alain Prost. He's handed it back to Prost, and all he had to do was to keep the thing straight. But when I say that by no means easy, and poor Nigel Mansell. He's done so well up till then, and I think that was a mistake of inexperience. It's very difficult. When you lead a Grand Prix for the first time, it's very easy to make mistakes. I've myself in my career made several mistakes when I first led Grand Prix before I actually won one and got the confidence to go on and not make mistakes, but that is tragic.
We've had some good news, however, as we look again at the replay of what happened to Nigel Mansell coming up the hill. He loses it, as you see, flings on left lock. The car spins round. Nigel looks. There's nothing he can do about it. It must have deranged the right rear suspension, and you can see for yourselves that it's damaged the wing as he drives away, only to spin out later again at the right-hander approaching the Mirabeau, and Nigel Mansell's race must surely be finished with Alain Prost. This is the replay of Mansell going on into Casino Square, and that was on the 15th lap in the race, which is going to be over a 2-hour time. And we look down the perfectly clear hill now with Alain Prost back in the lead, with Niki Lauda second, with Ayrton Senna now in third position. This is quite sensational, and I do use that word advisedly. Prost has gone through. The rain is bucketing down. Nelson Piquet is out of the race, and we really are not going to get very many finishers, because Alboreto has gone past the with his Ferrari misfiring very badly indeed. Now there is Arnoux, that is Keke Rosberg, there is Stefan Beloff, and on lap 16, the order then is Alain Prost leading, Niki Lauda is second, Senna is in third place, Arnoux is fourth, Rosberg is fifth, and in sixth position is Stefan Beloff.
Well, the men to watch, it would seem, are Ayrton de Senna and Stefan Beloff, both of whom have already growing reputations for being very talented and very, very quick drivers indeed. And the wet seems to have given them their chance. Beloff is in a car that is well suited to the conditions. Lighter and more nimble, doesn't have the power, but that doesn't matter so much in the wet. It's negated by the fact that the more powerful cars just spin their wheels. Beloff has come, incidentally, from last place on the grid. And, of course, Ayrton de Senna, who's shown a really remarkable, prodigious quantity of talent in his driving so far, coupled with a certain lack of experience and a headstrongness, is really driving a very mature and remarkable race so far.
We're on lap 17, as you saw Lauda's car go through, followed by that of René Arnoux. There is Keke Rosberg, and we're waiting for the leaders to come through at the end of their 17th lap. That is the distinctive green Alfa Romeo of Riccardo Patrese. And I'm going to be very surprised if more than about 6 drivers finish this race. Prost is through in the lead. Now you see Senna closing right up on Niki Lauda, who is second. I think we all expected to see Senna do well this season. I don't think we expected to see him do as well as this. I talked to him about 5 minutes before the race began. I asked him if he was optimistic about his chances. He said he had the right tyres, the car was going well. That's René Arnoux in 4th position. And funnily enough, Senna is benefiting from the fact that he has less horsepower than Lauda, because you can't use all the horsepower in this race of a turbocharged car.
Well, certainly this is a terrific lift for the Tolman team. Their new car is obviously going very well, but whilst the driver can't drive unless he's got a car to sit in, you must say that this is credit to the exceptional talent of Ayrton de Senna.
Now let's just watch it. On lap 18 in this 2-hour race, Prost is back in the lead with Mansell out of the race, and you see the battle developing now for second place between Niki Lauda there and
Stefan Beloff in the Tyrrell is already up with the Williams. So Beloff is 6th, the Williams is 5th, and this is the battle we're seeing now for second place. Further down, Manfred Winkelhock is 7th in the ATS. Ghinzani going well in the Azella is 8th. Elio De Angelis 9th, despite having to...
And there's Senna. He's showing now Niki Lauda his front wheels. But Lauda, of course, is not about to move over under any circumstances at all. Prost has gone through. And that is the gap between the race leader, Alain Prost, and this battle for second place between Lauda in the Marlboro McLaren and Senna in the Tolman, as they come round the Rascasse, out of it, and up the finishing straight. Out of the Rascasse now. And Prost has gone through some 24 seconds ago already. And there is Arnoux, with behind Arnoux in 5th position, Keke Rosberg, and Senna challenging for that second place, and he's taken it. A magnificent bit of driving by Senna, who's now in second place.
Yeah, that was absolutely marvellous. Senna went round the outside of Lauda into the Rascasse, and that was brave and skillful.
Brave and skillful indeed. Senna now pulling away from Niki Lauda, and I will keep a stopwatch on the gap between Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna, the new second place man. Here it is again, and this is Senna taking Lauda in second position.
Yes, they're on the pit straight now, but that's slightly curved, and they won't be able to use full power, so De Senna is using a lot of throttle control here. Nicky's hugging the inside, which is the correct line, and Senna's going the long way round him. And Prost will no doubt be informed on the very next time he passes the pits that Senna is in second place and looks capable of catching him. So this puts a lot of pressure on Prost suddenly. His 24-second plus lead looked pretty comfortable before, but it's going to feel jolly uncomfortable to him now.
Lap 19. Prost leads. Senna second. Lauda third. Just behind Lauda now, Arnoux is closing up. He's got Keke Rosberg right behind him in fifth position, and Stefan Bellof is right with Rosberg in sixth place. We could yet see an even more dramatic development with Bellof closing up. Now look at it, here it is, there's Lauda, there's Arnoux, there is Rosberg, and right behind him in sixth position is Stefan Bellof on this, now the conclusion of their 19th lap. Arnoux, Rosberg, Bellof. Stefan Bellof has got at the very most 450 horsepower from his Ford DFV engine in his Tyrrell, whereas Keke Rosberg has got some 650, but that's a disadvantage and not an advantage in today's weather conditions. And Bellof now going into Saint-Devote, Arnoux fourth, Rosberg fifth, Bellof sixth.
Yes, and particularly the advantage is accentuated by the fact that with a normally aspirated engine, without the turbocharger, he has no throttle lag. The problem with for the drivers of turbocharged cars is that when you put your foot on the throttle with a turbocharged engine, the first thing that happens is nothing, and the second thing that happens is everything, in that it comes all with lots of power all at once. Whereas Bellof can move his foot up and down on the accelerator pedal and get exactly what he wants. And this is a big advantage in these ridiculously slippery conditions. And you see Bellof there now challenging at the back of that group, and he's given a little bit of a slide, hung the tail out of it there, that's no problem. He's got terrific car control, Bellof.
Manfred Winkelhock in seventh position behind Bellof is dropping back. Keke Rosberg was saying yesterday that the conditions in the tunnel are absolutely diabolical and will be accentuated in his case by the enormous horsepower that he's got under his right foot. Bellof goes through in sixth position. There is Arnoux fourth, and you can see for yourselves how awful it is on that track. Just a solid ball of spray. Lauda third, Arnoux fourth, Rosberg fifth, Bellof sixth, absolutely together on lap 21 as they come up to Patrese to lap him. And Riccardo Patrese is not exactly the best-known man in the Grand-Prix world for moving over and letting you through, so we could see a telescoping of this battle between these four men going from third to sixth positions. Arnoux, Bellof. They're paid a lot of money, and you see now why they earn it and how they earn it. Arnoux, Rosberg. I'm glad to tell you, incidentally, that Patrick Tambay is all right. I thought he'd hurt his leg quite badly, but we've had the good news that Patrick Tambay is perfectly okay, as Lauda, who has got past Patrese, pulls away now, and Arnoux is going to try and take the Italian. There's Manfred Winkelhock in seventh position. This will give him a chance to close up. They're going into the tunnel. This is the 21st lap. Mansell, of course, out of the race, as are Tambay, Warwick, De Angelis, Cicotto, Corrado, Fabi, and Nelson Piquet. And look at, there he goes. There goes Stefan Bellof. Bellof has taken Keke Rosberg and moved up into fifth place in a superbly judged passing move.
Yes, and judged is exactly the right term, Murray, because you can't see a thing where you're going, so you've got to eyeball everything up, look where you are on the track, shut your eyes, as good as that, and just hope that it all works out, and Bellof has done exactly that.
and is now with Riccardo Patrese, who is practically a full lap behind him, and he's shown the blue flag by the marshal, which means there is someone behind you who wishes to pass you, as if Patrese didn't know. And there is Manfred Winkelhock in 7th place closing up, as Beloff challenges Patrese and Van der Voort. Patrese looks in his right mirror. This is going to give Keke Rosberg, if he could control the wheel spin that he's undoubtedly fighting, the chance to close the gap a bit between himself and Beloff. But I suspect that the Tyrrell is so nimble and has such ideal power characteristics for this terribly wet track that Rosberg will not in fact be able to close up. There is Arnoux, 4th. And Stefan Beloff goes through. Riccardo Patrese does move over and let him through. Rosberg, now, Rosberg drops back, and as you saw, with Winkelhock closing up on Rosberg, who is 6th, and there's Beloff giving it the big slide treatment as he goes into the tunnel. René Arnoux is getting very close to Niki Lauda, who is 3rd. The race order on this, the 22nd lap, as you look at Keke Rosberg, is Alain Prost leading. Senna, let us not forget that, is in 2nd place. 3rd is Lauda. 4th is Arnoux. And there goes Beloff. Arnoux, that's the gap between Arnoux and Beloff. You can see it visually. René Arnoux in 4th position, Stefan Beloff. There he is in 5th place, number 4. 26 years old, this is only his 6th Grand Prix, Stefan Beloff. Made a name for himself in Group C sports car racing. Last year has capitalised on it through the successful efforts of a community of the German businessmen to sponsor him. And there goes Lauda, Arnoux, Beloff. And in the distant mists now, Keke Rosberg.
Well, Senna and Beloff will be doing their reputations an extremely big power of good here today. There'll be team managers with top cars going up to sign them. They're both contracted drivers though, but they'll be putting up their prices and also putting up their reputations with these excellent performances.
3rd, 4th and 5th together into the tunnel. Lauda, Arnoux and Beloff. Lap 23 ahead of them, Prost and Senna. Elio De Angelis, who I have not seen during the whole race for one reason or another, now the fastest man on the circuit, therefore he is in the race. You saw him go off the circuit earlier on. He is actually in 8th position at the present moment and closing up on Manfred Winkelhock, who is 7th. Meantime, Jacques Lafitte in the second of the 2 Williams Hondas is being caught by the 3rd place man Niki Lauda, but who can't pass him, and therefore has René Arnoux in 4th place close on him, with Beloff right behind him. Look at this. Lauda is passed. Lafitte has been lapped. Arnoux 4th, Beloff 5th, Rosberg is still 6th, Winkelhock is 7th, De Angelis is 8th, Ginzani is 9th, Alboreto is 10th but has been lapped. Lafitte, who you've seen, is slipping down the field all the time and is now being passed by Arnoux and is about to be passed by Beloff. So Beloff has not in fact lost any distance on Arnoux in getting past Jacques Lafitte. And Senna now with a lap of nearly 2 minutes, 1 minute 54, and a big spin for Niki Lauda. Now, Lauda then is just having to press it a bit too hard. 3rd position has been lost by Niki Lauda. Up to 3rd goes René Arnoux. Up to 4th goes Beloff, and out of the race goes the Austrian double world champion Niki Lauda, because obviously he lost his engine, stalled his engine and was not able to restart it. So now the McLaren honours have been lost by Niki Lauda, but of course it is still his teammate Alain Prost in the lead, and don't forget that Alain Prost is leading the championship by a long way from Niki Lauda, who's going to get no points in this race, whereas Prost is on his way to a maximum of 9 points if he can stay where he is. And for once the pressure seems to have got to Lauda, and he's just overcooked things. Here he goes into Casino Square, chased by René Arnoux on the replay, who was then in 4th position, followed by Belloff 5th. They exit the Casino Square, and as they do so, Lauda spins out a full 360-degree spin. He got the right amount of lock on, but it was no good to him. His engine has stopped, and Lauda is out.
Well, if the driver of Lauda's experience spin out in these conditions, it's a possibility for everybody. They really are so treacherous. Alain Prost is the one man who may not have to do that. He now enjoys a very comfortable lead of over half a minute, and therefore he doesn't have to push so hard, so he can concentrate purely on keeping the car on the road. He's not racing, he is surviving.
And he's 31 seconds ahead of Ayrton Senna. Here he is. Well, it would seem that Niki Lauda's engine may have been drowned by the water conditions, in which case whatever happened to Lauda's engine might conceivably happen to Prost. So we'll have to keep a very careful eye on the McLaren of the Frenchman Alain Prost in the lead. This race has now been running some 47 minutes, so it's got a very long way to go. It's not even at half distance yet in what will be a 2-hour time length. It was originally to have been 77 laps. Lauda walking in to report to Ron Dennis what has happened, and he won't exactly be wanting to exchange any jocular quips with the marshals, I'm quite sure of that. As Arnoux and Belloff now in 3rd and 4th places round the swimming pool, chasing Senna, and Senna is some 15 seconds ahead of this battle, and Stefan Belloff now taking advantage, as he has done all through this race, of the excellent power characteristics of his Ford DFB engine and the nimbleness of his Tyrrell to combat the excess horsepower that Arnoux has got, which generates wheel spin all too easily, to close up on the Ferrari and hopefully soon to take it in 3rd position. This now is lap 26 with Prost leading, Senna 2nd. The battle for 3rd between Arnoux and Belloff there. 5th position now is Nicky Rosberg, and up to 6th and in the points, Elio De Angelis, with a bitterly disappointed Nigel Mansell, who had led the race out of it after spinning and damaging his suspension and rear wing. I didn't think the rain could get worse here at Monaco, but really it is. It's not just dropping down, it's really heavy driving rain now, and I imagine in the cockpit it must be absolutely unimaginable.
Yes, an absolute nightmare. As I've said several times today, I'm extremely happy to be sitting here. We're getting a little bit damp here, and the electrics of our monitors have got very damp, but I'd much rather be here than there. They've got a very tough job on their hands, and this is where they earn these huge telephone numbers and deserve the huge telephone numbers in terms of money that the drivers get. And you can see Belloff's problem. You saw then he's in the spray. Now that's a good shot. You saw from behind that he really can't see where he's going, and he's trying to challenge René Arnoux for 3rd place, but he's having to do it from memory.
Only 6 drivers are on the same lap now. Prost, Senna, Arnoux, Belloff, Rosberg and De Angelis in that order. They're coming through now, these two, to complete their 26th lap.
As they go down the straight here, we missed it, but we saw then as they went into the Rascasse corner, a very good view of exactly what Stefan Belloff can't see. which is everything. He can't see a thing at all. Oh dear, and it's going to be very difficult up the hill because it gets very narrow, and the René Arnoux will take a line, and it's not a passing place. Beloff had an opportunity there, but unfortunately for him it was at the wrong place. He's having a look down the inside too, and I would think that he's going to try and get very quickly around the right-hand part here of the Casino Square and maybe try and outbreak him down into the Mirabeau, and he's well positioned to do it. And he's got the inside line, and Arnoux going to hit him. And that was a little bit naughty by René Arnoux, and Beloff did terribly well to avoid it, because Arnoux, without any doubt, moved unjustifiably into into Beloff rather, who had to get up on the curb to avoid him, and that was very, very well driven by Stefan Beloff.
Who is now in third position, and as you saw, Riccardo Patrese, there is his green Alfa Romeo, has joined the retirements on lap 26. The leaders now are on their 27th lap, and there is the third place man. What an absolutely scintillating drive by Stefan Beloff, 26-year-old, the man from Eton, 10 years racing experience in Formula Ford and Formula 2 and Group C, World Endurance Championship racing. Now in the highest place he's ever been in a Grand Prix, having finished 5th at San Marino, 6th in Belgium. And look again at the replay as they come down the hill to the Mirabeau.
Now watch, Arnoux sees him coming alongside, and he starts moving into the corner long before the corner, and that's very, very naughty. And I have to say that it was both naughty and unintelligent, but then that's a characteristic with René Arnoux that we've seen before. But to move over like, because he could have put himself out of the race as well as Beloff, because when these open wheel cars touch, anybody can have an accident, and it's totally unpredictable because they rub tyres and anything can happen. And so that was unclever driving by Arnoux, both for Beloff's point of view and from his own.
Now, as Prost goes into the tunnel for the 28th time, I can tell you that the gap between himself and Ayrton Senna, who is second, is diminishing. It's diminishing quite rapidly. It was 31 seconds at one point, and it's down to 21 now. So, for whatever reason, either because Prost is taking it easy, or because Senna is really starting a charge, the second place man, Brazilian Ayrton Senna, in the British Toleman, with Ted Toleman here himself to watch it, as is Alex Hawkridge of Toleman, Rory Byrne, the Toleman designer, Peter Gethin, the new team manager, all very much on their toes, worrying about what's happening. And I'm going to give you the time interval now between the completion of this lap for Alain Prost in the lead and Senna, who is in second place, with the news that Keke Rosberg is closing up on Arnoux for fourth position, as Lauda completes the lap by foot. Now, Prost has gone through. The gap was 21 seconds. Lauda looking at Derek Warwick's car, taking an interest in everything all around him, perhaps wanting to delay the moment before he gets back, and we're still waiting for Senna to come through. And here he is. The gap now is down to 18 seconds. So Alain Prost in the lead is being caught quite rapidly. Here is Alain Prost on his 29th lap. Ayrton Senna has got the gap down from 31 seconds to 18 seconds.
Yes, this means that at the current rate of progress, Prost is going to have to find another gear, because Senna is catching him quite comfortably enough to do it well before the end of the race, with plenty of time to find a way around him.
Here's the leader. Senna second, Beloff third. The two new boys of Grand Prix racing this season in second and third places. Arnoux is fourth. Rosberg is fifth, the catching Arnoux. De Angelis is sixth. The last man to be on the same lap as the leader. Alboreto is a lap behind in seventh place. Ghinzani is the highest he's ever been in a Grand Prix, in eighth position. In ninth place is Jacques Lafitte. Then 4 laps behind the leader, but now out of the race, Patrese, as is Lauda. Winkelhock is retired, Mansell's out, Piquet's out, Hinault's out. There are very few people left running in the race, and there's going to be even less when it finishes. Prost. We must watch the tunnel very carefully because although it was watered at the beginning of the race, of course it hasn't been watered since, whereas the rain has continued to belt down on every other part of this Monaco lap. Now here is the leader coming through again. The gap was 18 seconds. He goes round Saint-Devote and starts to climb the hill for the 30th time in what we expect to be about a 60-lap race, and the gap between himself and Ayrton Senna is now 15 seconds. Ayrton Senna is catching this man, number 7, race leader Alain Prost, Marlboro McLaren, at the rate of 3 seconds a lap. So in 5 laps' time, if he keeps doing it, Ayrton Senna is going to be right with the race leader with only just over half of the race run at that time.
Well, I think we are watching the arrival of Ayrton Senna as truly outstanding talent in Grand-Prix racing. The rain is coming down even harder now. We've got a real cloud burst on now. But Ayrton Senna has the same tires that Alain Prost is running, the same tires that the other Michelin runners. He's on Michelin tires, and he's catching Alain Prost at something like 3 seconds a lap. And that is a truly staggering performance. The Toleman is obviously a good chassis, which is a great credit to their team. They put it together. It's quite new. Look at the rain now. You can see that it's much heavier. The track is much wetter than it was a couple of laps ago. And now that's about the view you get when you're following another car. That brief one when he just came through and all the spray came up. And it's really horrible conditions. But Ayrton Senna is coping with them, and he's catching Prost hand over fist for the lead.
I can't believe that they're going to keep running this race. The conditions are the worst I have ever seen in a long, long time of watching races. Now here is Prost coming through again, and I'm going to start the stopwatch. 15 seconds was the gap. If Senna is continuing to close at the rate of 3 seconds a lap, Prost is waving his hand. Prost goes through, waving his hand at the officials. He wants to stop the race, and who can blame him? Now, I'm just waiting for Senna to come through, and the gap as Senna goes through, quite dispassionately, is down to 11 seconds. He's taken 4 seconds out of Prost's lead.
Yes, Prost, with his experience, wants the race stopped, and I can't blame him for that, because I wouldn't have even wanted it to have started, is it? But the fact of the matter is, it's a very slow track here. There's a lot of corners. Cars don't get very fast, and aquaplaning is not normally a problem, is it? I can't, from this position sitting here, say that it is or it isn't a problem, but normally there isn't enough water on the track. It's a very hilly track, so you don't get a lot of lying water. And unless there's aquaplaning, there is in fact, from a purist and a dispassionate point of view, no reason to stop the race.
But a lot of engines are drowning now. Arnoux has gone past with a badly misfiring Ferrari engine, followed almost immediately by Keke Rosberg with the same trouble. And I would suspect that they are both running on only 5 cylinders.
Do you not suspect, Murray, possibly that that's because they're using half throttle because the conditions have got so bad? It may be that it isn't a misfire, it's just the way they're driving the engine, possibly.
It could indeed be just that, because it affects the turbocharger balance. And that's Alboreto catching Prost. Now, Alboreto has in fact been lapped, and Prost is slowing right down. And Alboreto keeps going. I'm beginning to think that Prost is in some sort of trouble. Don't forget that we suspect that Niki Lauda's engine was drowned. The gap, and we are now coming up to complete the 31st lap in what we expect to be a 60-lap race if it goes the full 2 hours. Alboreto having been push-started. Once more, we'll take the gap between Prost and Senna, first and second. It was 11 seconds, having come down from 15 on the previous lap. Prost waved his hand up the previous lap, but not this one. And there goes Senna, and it's only 7 seconds now. And what will happen if the race is stopped? Well, at this point, it could be that they will just decide the conditions are so bad that they can't restart it, in which case the positions as they are now would be declared the final race positions and half points would be awarded. And it might conceivably mean that, as in the French Grand Prix a couple of years ago, the race will be restarted later when hopefully the conditions have improved a bit, although I can't see much likelihood of them doing so. And out is going the red flag. The race is being stopped. There's an official in front of me with a red flag. The Monaco Grand Prix is going to be stopped.
And I was about to say that I felt that Prost had a very big advantage being the lead as a Frenchman when the conditions got this bad, because it is French officialdom, and I think if they stop the race, Tolman and Ayrton Senna will have a very, very reasonable grudge as he goes through catching Prost hand over fist. And I think that this is what I would call French timing, to be as polite as possible. It does seem to me a bit wrong, and Senna could catch him, but he's got the Ferrari in the way.
Well, there goes Prost into the Rascasse corner, chased by Senna in second place, just about 2 or 3 seconds behind him now. There's an official right in the middle of the road now, showing the red flag, and the checkered flag is going out. They are stopping. This is going to be the end of the Monaco Grand Prix, with Alain Prost, and Prost is stopping, and Senna crosses the line before he gets there. Now that's amazing. Prost has stopped actually on the line. Senna passed him as he got to the line, but subject to official confirmation, I'm virtually certain that Prost has won with Senna second.
Yes, I think Prost crossed the line just before Senna did, and it will be really a tragic result for Senna. However, he's not about to be world champion this year. He will undoubtedly be world champion in the future if his career continues. So whilst he has every reason and every justification for being very upset, he's got a big future.
The Monaco Grand Prix having been dramatically stopped on the 32nd, at the end of the 32nd lap, and having been won by Alain Prost, who has therefore now won 3 Grand Prix and finished second in one this year to extend his World Championship lead. A magnificent second, the man you are looking at now, Ayrton Senna, who seems conceivably to think he has won, judging by the way he's waving his hand. In third position, Stefan Belloff, equally magnificent in the Tyrrell, ahead of the 4th place man, René Arnoux in the Ferrari. In 5th position, Keke Rosberg, and in 6th place, Elio De Angelis.
Il a commencé à pleuvoir, il n'a pas arrêté la course et Prost, il était victime d'une tête à queue. Je crois que c'est l'année passée, si je me souviens bien.
Oui.
Voilà, et justement, l'année passée, la course pour moi, c'était arrêté parce que quand on est avec des pneus slick et il commence à pleuvoir, la condition, c'est très dangereux. Aujourd'hui, il y a la pluie, le pilote, c'est depuis le premier tour qui court en cette condition. Je ne sais pas combien d'eau il y a sur le circuit, c'est difficile à juger, mais comme je t'ai dit, ça ne me semblait pas que Prost il avait des difficultés. Senna était plus vite, mais j'ai l'impression aussi que Senna il est avec des Pirelli. Tu me confirmes ça? Il a des pneus
Oui, tout à fait, oui.
Voilà, peut-être les Pirelli sont beaucoup mieux sur la pluie aussi.
Non, pardon, c'est pas vrai, ils ont changé, Telemann a changé depuis le Grand Prix de Saint-Marin, ils sont en Michelin aussi.
Ah d'accord, alors c'est égalité des pneus, alors voilà, Senna il attaquait beaucoup et j'ai pas vu qu'il a pris trop de risques.
Oui, il a pris beaucoup de risques, mais là, vous venez de voir, les 2 drapeaux, le drapeau rouge et le drapeau à damier. Alors, on va bien entendu attendre des explications complémentaires. Toujours est-il que la course s'est arrêtée après 32 tours, mais c'est la situation à la fin du 31e tour qui sera retenue. Et là, je peux vous dire, Clay, que les conditions de pluie actuellement sont, à mon avis, comparables à celles du Japon en 76 et pires que celles de 72.
Oui, mais une chose, on n'a pas vu des accidents graves à cause de la pluie. On a
Heureusement pas,
des petites fautes, peut-être même pas dues à l'eau. Je ne sais pas, c'est difficile à dire.
C'est difficile à dire. Toujours est-il qu'on nous donne une situation au championnat du monde avec la moitié des points qui auraient été attribués. Prost arriverait à 28,5 points Lauda reste à ses 18 quoi qu'il arrive, Arnoux 14,5, car il est temps tout de même de vous donner le classement de cette épreuve qui semble alors être définitivement terminée. Un Grand Prix de Monaco très très bizarre, remporté par Alain Prost devant Ayrton Senna. Le troisième est Beloff, le quatrième est René Arnoux, le cinquième, qui est cinquième? C'est Rosberg, si je ne fais erreur, non c'est bien ça, et le sixième De Angelis. Voilà pour les demi-points qui seraient donnés. Niki Lauda, lui, estime sans doute qu'on a bien fait d'interrompre cette course, et Alain Prost devrait donc être déclaré vainqueur. Je pense que je vais tout de même garder l'antenne quelques instants vu que nous avons tout le temps. Voilà la situation au championnat des constructeurs afin de savoir ce qui va se passer. On va écouter un peu le speaker officiel et puis aussi on voit Alain Prost aller chercher le trophée des mains du prince régnier de Monaco. Alors comme généralement la famille princière s'en va prendre le thé après quelques tours, on ne sait pas si le prince est déjà revenu dans sa loge pour une drôle de farce. Ici Alain Prost en discussion avec Jackie Stewart. Évidemment ce sera pas la plus belle victoire de la carrière d'Alain Prost, mais lui-même n'en peut rien. Il ne fait pas la pluie et le beau temps. Et c'est tout de même une victoire qui sera à son actif, une victoire supplémentaire. Et je vais tout de même reprendre également le règlement.
Oui, Jacques, là, je veux dire une autre chose. Il y avait, comme on dit, Senna derrière qui était en train de faire une course super. Et peut-être ils ont volé une victoire à Senna parce qu'il aurait, à ce rythme, il aurait pris Prost, il aurait pu gagner la course tranquillement. Alors là, c'est toujours, il y a toujours les pros et les cons, les pour et les cons, c'est difficile à dire. Mais pour moi, ils ont été un peu pressés à prendre cette décision.
Oui, évidemment, il est évident que si on avait arrêté la course 3 tours plus tard, Senna aurait peut-être pris la tête.
Parce que je veux te dire une autre chose, quand il pleut beaucoup, c'est moins dangereux que quand il pleut un petit peu. Alors là, on connaît, il y a beaucoup d'eau, là il n'y a pas de l'aquaplaning parce que l'eau ça reste pas sur le circuit parce que avec les roues, la pendance de roues, l'eau ça reste pas. Alors c'est pas une situation dangereuse. Il y a des circuits beaucoup plus dangereux comme on peut dire Monza où il y a la ligne droite où le circuit c'est plat, il y a l'eau qui reste sur le circuit et la course est très très dangereuse. Mais à Monaco on n'a pas cette condition.
Non, ça n'est pas dangereux, mais ça devient tout de même presque inconduisible.
Mais c'est pas, non, c'est pas tout à fait. Non, c'est difficile à conduire la voiture. On roule moins vite, mais c'est pas tellement dangereux là. Le danger c'était déjà passé. Le danger c'était les premiers 20 tours, le départ, toutes les voitures ensemble. Maintenant, il n'y avait pas beaucoup de voitures dans la course. Il y avait Senna qui était en train une très belle remontée. Comme je t'ai dit, pour moi, c'était un peu précipité la décision.
Peut-être un peu précipité, oui. Ça, évidemment, la décision est de la compétence exclusive du directeur de course qui a peut-être été un peu trop impressionné par le geste significatif que lui a fait Alain Prost 2 tours avant l'interruption. Je ne sais pas si l'on peut dire que Senna a été vraiment prétérité. Bon, il termine deuxième. C'est remarquable. Il aurait pu revenir dans les roues de Prost assez rapidement. Il aurait été peut-être un petit peu plus difficile à le passer, quoique Prost n'aurait pas commis l'imprudence de risquer d'être mis hors course pour avoir trop résisté à Senna. Mais toujours est-il que les faits sont là et que nous devons composer avec ces faits et constater que Alain Prost a bel et bien remporté ce Grand Prix de Monaco 1984 qui n'entrera pas dans la légende, sinon par le fait qu'il aura été une course pour le moins bizarre et inhabituelle, qui aura duré 32 tours et qui aura été soldée par la victoire d'Alain Prost sur McLaren Tag Porsche, qui a précédé le Brésilien Ayrton Senna de 7 secondes et demie finalement. En troisième position, Stéphane Beloff sur la Tyrrell Ford. Quatrième premier podium pour Beloff. Quatrième René Arnoux sur Ferrari. Cinquième Keke Rosberg sur Williams Honda et sixième Elio De Angelis sur Lotus Renault. Plus loin, septième Alboreto à un tour, huitième Ghinzani, neuvième Lafitte, neuf voitures à l'arrivée. Et on précisera également que conformément au règlement, seule la moitié des points est attribué car moins des 2/3 de la course ont été effectués. Ce qui fait qu'au championnat du monde, Alain Prost continue à augmenter légèrement son avance. Il comptabilise 4,5 points au lieu de 9. Il arrive à 28,5 points, soit 10,5 points d'avance sur Niki Lauda, alors que René Arnoux, lui, en compte maintenant 14,5. Alors je ne sais pas si vous recevez toujours une image à Genève, enfin en Suisse, je le souhaite.
Bien, Jacques.
Voilà une image qui revient chez nous aussi avec un plan de l'entrée du tunnel.
Jacques, vous m'entendez?
Oui, je vous entends.
Il y a une petite question que j'aimerais vous poser qui concerne le règlement. Peut-être Claire pourra m'aider à répondre.
Attendez,
On va laisser passer, d'accord.
La Marseillaise pour Alain Prost. Save the Queen pour l'équipe McLaren. Voilà, eh bien, sans doute pas la plus belle victoire pour Alain Prost, mais il était en tête au moment où la course a été interrompue. C'est ce que l'on retiendra dans les tabelles pour Alain Prost, qui remporte ainsi en 63 Grands Prix la 12e victoire de sa carrière. C'est la première fois qu'Alain Prost s'impose sur le circuit de Monaco. C'est la première fois également qu'une McLaren s'impose ici à Monaco. Dans ce Grand Prix vraiment très très bizarre, un peu une parodie de Grand Prix, une farce pas très bonne. Monaco nous a habitués à des spectacles beaucoup plus saisissants, mais enfin c'est ainsi que les choses se sont déroulées aujourd'hui. Alors je crois, Jacques Villers, que vous aviez une question pour moi.
Oui, Jacques. Est-ce que le coureur qui est en tête a un droit préférentiel pour demander l'arrêt de la course?
Non, pas du tout. Non, il n'a aucun droit. Disons qu'il a signifié que les conditions devenaient vraiment très délicates, mais il essaye peut-être, il est certain que le leader, que l'on voit ici, le vainqueur félicité ici par le prince régnier, il est certain que se sachant en tête du Grand Prix et sachant que les conditions deviennent difficiles, il va espérer que la course sera interrompue afin que sa victoire soit enregistrée. C'est peut-être cela qu'a essayé de faire Alain Prost et que d'autres ont essayé de faire avant lui. Mais je ne pense pas que c'est un reproche qu'il faudra faire à lui. Si l'on reprochera que la course ait été interrompue, ce serait plutôt au directeur de course qu'il faudrait adresser ce reproche, pour autant que l'on soit de cet avis. Moi, je suis personnellement assez partagé. Je sais que Clé, lui, pense que la course aurait duré plus longtemps, mais enfin, elle n'a pas duré plus longtemps, et je sais que l'image va disparaître maintenant. Alors, avant de vous laisser sur le plateau avec Claire Regazzoni et Jean Tinguely, je vous précise que dans 15 jours, nous serons à Montréal pour le Grand Prix du Canada, dont vous suivrez le départ en direct dans les actualités sportives, et puis l'essentiel de la course sur 1h ou 1h30, dimanche soir 17 juin vers 17h30. Voilà pour ce Grand Prix de Monaco. Je rends maintenant la parole au studio aux invités de Jacques Villers, Claire Regazzoni et Jean Tinguely.
I think it was a difficult decision to start the race, but we spoke about with some drivers, but do not start the race. But because of the tunnel was too slippery, and the organization did some job through the tunnel to put some water, and it was a bit better. And for start. So we decided to start, and I think the decision to stop the race was very good, was very safe. And I think it's a very good decision, and it's a very good race, even if it's half distance.
It's your 12th victory. How does this compare with the other 11 before? Was it better or as good, or what do you think?
For sure, it's the most difficult, and I think I did one of the best races I've never did before. I did the best pole position I've never did, and that helped me a lot today because I did a good start also. And I'm very happy to win here because last year and 2 years ago I had to win this race, and I'm very happy not only for this race today but for the championship.
Just in the laps before the race was finally stopped, Ayrton Senna was catching you very quickly, but do you think that you could have held him off, or was he going so quickly that he would be passing you?
He was much quicker than me, but the track was so slippery, so dangerous that I decided to go very slowly. I had some problem with the brakes, and when I've seen that Senna was behind me, he's not current for the championship. He has no point at the moment, so I have already decided that if he was just behind me, I let him pass. It was much better for me to get some points for the championship and do not win the race.
The demoralizing situation for every team in Grand-Prix racing today is that your car was on pole position, and having Marlboro McLarens dominate 1984, it looks like they can do so in the remaining races, including the next 3 in North America.
I think we improved a lot the car for this race, and it was a good surprise for me to be in pole position, and it's a good surprise to win this race. We did not plan to win this race before, and 4 wins in 5 wins in 6 races, it's unbelievable. And I think for the North American race, and we are going to be in a good shape anyway, that's sure now. And we're in a good shape for the championship because when we come back in Europe, I think we have some very nice track, very quick, and where we can be very, very good, I mean.
So, with only half points, Alain Prost gets 4.5 for his win, and he's now 10.5 points ahead of Niki Lauda, who didn't score. René Arnoux now consolidates his 3rd place, 1.5 points ahead of Derek Warwick. De Angelis now 5th, Keke Rosberg 6th. And that's McLaren's 5th Grand Prix win out of 6 starts this year, an extraordinary record, and it puts them even more securely in the lead of the Constructors' Championship with almost double the points of their closest rival Ferrari. So from